Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. So the Washington Commanders just signed Eddie Goldman, Jonathan Jones, and then they lost Derek Forrest to free agency, and Benjamin St-Juste just signed with the Los Angeles Chargers. So I know a lot of people are excited about that. So we'll talk about that in today's video. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and that notification bell as well. Working hard out here in Europe, trying to get you guys videos. I know it's late for some of the stuff, but was just at a Real Madrid game against Atletico Madrid, so that was a good game. Champions League game. Crazy atmosphere. But we're here to talk about football. And Benjamin St-Juste to the Los Angeles Chargers. Not a guy that a lot of fans liked. And I will say, before I, hate on him a little bit, he was seems like a good guy, and was, nice with the fans, has his family, a wife, kids. So wishing him nothing but the best. Hopefully with the Chargers, it goes, better than it did with the Commanders. Because, the first year, I thought he did pretty well. Just had those concussion issues and then ankle issues. And then the second year, it was decent. And the last couple years, it's been abysmal. Especially this past year, where he quickly became the most hated player in the Commanders. Just, if you're a Chargers fan, good luck. Be prepared for a lot of penalties, whether it's pass interference, whether it's, illegal touching or holding. A lot of those. He, has some talent, but no ball production. One interception in his 4 years, I believe. One. And tackling isn't insane. He's got the size that you want to believe. He's like 6'2", 6'3". He's, pretty skinny. But, yeah, if you're a Chargers fan, good luck. He's a good guy and all, but, I wouldn't be too excited about the signing, especially if he's going to be your starter. If he's your starter, yeah, that's not looking good. And, the Commanders had to move on from him real quick this season after, it started going downhill. And that's why they traded for Lattimore. So that's kind of it on the Benjamin St-Juste talk. It is what it is. 4 years, another Ron Rivera guy that's gone. So they're just weeding those guys out. There's not many that are Ron Rivera guys that are still here. I mean, Quan Martin is one of them. Brian Robinson is another. Sam Cosmi is one. But there's just not a lot. Derek Forrest, he just left for the Buffalo Bills. That's another Ron Rivera guy. He's a guy, just made a video about him earlier today. But that's a guy a little bit more upset to see go. If you're a Bills fan, he's a solid player. Big hitter for sure. Can make some plays, can make some interceptions. But just kind of had a big injury. Got lost in the, in the shuffle there with the Commanders with, Quan Martin there, Jeremy Chin, Percy Butler, Jeremy Reeves. So it is what it is. Definitely wishing him nothing but the best. Really cool guy. I mean, honestly, St-Juste also, like him and Derek Forrest, I believe I met both those guys at training camp, and they were really, nice guys. So, again, nothing but the best. That probably will help out their comp pick for me a little bit for next year. In terms of some of the other signings, Jonathan Jones, cornerback from the Patriots, 9 years with the Patriots. Heard pretty good things about him. I'm trying to think, 9 years, won probably 2 Super Bowls. I don't want to do all the math in my head of when they won their Super Bowls, but at least 1, maybe 2 Super Bowls there with the Patriots. And I think. But yeah, I think it's a good signing. He's a guy that can play in the slot, can play on the outside, and Patriots fans really liked him. And I don't know if that's because he's still a good player or it's because he's, been with them for 9 years. It might be both. But he was a trade candidate for the Commanders at the trade deadline. So I'm going to do more research. Again, was out when this happened, so haven't been able to do a lot of research on it. But 1 year, up to $6.5 million, a guy that can play in the slot, can play on the outside, and is a veteran cornerback. So they didn't get younger at the position, but they're still versatile. They got Mike Sanders still as well. Wouldn't mind a late day 2, early day 3 cornerback pick that, maybe develops a little bit more. But I like this Jonathan Jones signing, and I believe he's still decent, and he gets you some picks. Not going to get you 5, 6 picks, obviously, but can get you a couple picks every season from what I remember looking at his stats. And then Eddie Goldman, he's definitely someone I don't know a lot about. Played with the Bears, and then maybe the Cowboys, but I think the Bears for sure. And don't kill me again in the comments, but I'll make separate videos about those guys. But this video is more about Benjamin St-Juste. But Eddie Goldman, big defensive tackle, a guy that will be in the rotation. Interesting, though, that they signed 2 D tackles, Javon Kinlaw, Eddie Goldman. So I don't know what that says about how they feel about Johnny Newton, and then also about Deron Payne. Maybe they move on from Deron Payne. I mean, Eddie Goldman isn't going to be the guy that puts it over the edge, but again, they brought in Javon Kinlaw. So that's something that's definitely interesting, worth watching. And then Jonathan Jones, I like that signing for sure. And I think that he'll be a starter. Gives you that versatility. If you want to play in the slot, you can. And then you can play Mikey on the outside with Lattimore. Or if you want to switch it and you play Lattimore and Jonathan Jones on the outside and then play Mike Sanderson on the slot. I wouldn't mind keeping Sanderson on the outside. He showed he could do it. And you keep him there. You play Jonathan Jones in the slot. If it doesn't work out, you can always switch to two, and that's fine in training camp to make sure that it's not a problem for if they switch, the communication on defense will be worse. Just play them both, at both positions in training camp and in the preseason just to get them the reps. But I think it'll be fine, and I do like this signing. Probably my favorite. I like the Will Harris signing too. Those two, I like the Javon Kinlaw a little bit. I don't know, but it is what it is. And then Eddie Goldman. So they've added some guys on the defense. Let's trust Adam Peters on these guys. Not all of them are going to be hits, but he clearly likes them for a reason. And, he's prioritized defense over offense so far, at least in free agency. He did add not Eddie Goldman. He did add Deebo Samuel. He did add Laramie Tunsil via trade. But, they haven't signed an offensive guy, in free agency yet. So I would like them to sign a not offensive lineman, a receiver, wide receiver 3. See if you can get one of those guys. And then, tight end, they're fine at right now. Maybe they draft the guy in, day 3. Offensive line, maybe they want to add a guard or, bring back Trent Scott. I think defensive end, they still need to add a guy. Azeez Ojulari would be a good option for them. It's going to cost a little bit of money, but I think that's fine. And maybe they want to get Trey Hendrickson, but I think that's too much trade capital for them to give up, since they've given up already a lot. And then linebacker, I think they're fine at. They re-signed Michael Walker. So that's another guy. They re-signed a linebacker. He'll be a guy that's contending to make the roster. Will be competing for a roster spot for sure. So that is kind of the update for day 3. A much busier day 3 than day 2 and day 1 were. Day 1 was the biggest day in terms of they signed the biggest contract they've signed so far in terms of Javon Kinlaw, and they trade for Laramie Tunsil. But day 2, they signed Will Harris and re-signed Jeremy McNichols. And then today, they re-signed Michael Walker. They signed Eddie Goldman, and they signed Jonathan Jones. And then, like I said, the two guys, Derek Forrest and Benjamin St-Juste, are leaving for other teams. I don't know the details of those contracts yet, but I'll talk about Eddie Goldman and Jonathan Jones a little bit more in the next few days, breaking down that. But thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.